بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ارحمنا وارحم والدينا وارحم أولادنا وارحم أقربائنا وارحم أصدقائنا وارحم إخواننا في الله وارحم شيوخنا واشفي مرضانا وارحم موتانا وارحم أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. ربنا زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما. ربنا تقبل منا بسر سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Shukran, Imam Hussein. Is there anything you wish to say before we proceed?
All I want to say it's a very difficult topic that we're handling. You must really concentrate on this topic, on this subject that we're currently dealing with. Shukran.
Shukran, Imam Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashabi wa barik wa sallim. As Imam Hussein has said, it's a difficult topic. It's a topic that other people throughout the world in the history of Islam have grappled with. And that is the question of understanding correctly cause and effect. And in the process, it has caused a lot of confusion, problems, and differences to occur amongst the many scholars in the past. So it's important, if we do not understand something, that we should not be scared to say we don't fully understand, or even that we disagree. So to quickly recap where we left off last time, we heard the problem with the Jabariyah. It's a group of people who believe that the will of Allah is above everything. And that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not will something, then nothing can happen. And as a result of that, what they believed was that it doesn't matter what they do, Allah has already willed and decided what they would do. And they wouldn't be able to, through their actions, be able to change the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as a result, they didn't take responsibility for their actions. Now, this was a problem for some of the people at the time, and then a group of people who are called the Qadariyah, comes from the word Qadr, power, and they believe that once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the power and the ability, then Allah has given them the choice with that they can now do whatever they please and nothing will interfere with the choices that they make. They did not believe in free will and choice. Sorry, they believed in free will and choice, but they did not believe in predestination. Their belief was, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala predetermined or decided everything already, then Allah would not have given them free will and choice. The problem with them was that they believed that once they have the power, that they can do whatever they want to do, and Allah has given them that power, they must just account. So they were different to the Jabariyah. I'm not going to go even into the Mu'tazila. I'm going to go straight into how we as Muslims who belong to the group called the Ahle Sunnah Wal Jama'ah. Now, the Ahle Sunnah Wal Jama'ah, even within that, we have different groups. Now, we are of the people who believe according to the Ash'aris. Now, what is it that we claim to believe when it comes to cause and effect? Now, before I go on to touch on what it is that we are going to be dealing with now, are there any questions whatsoever on what we have dealt with as far as cause and effect is concerned up to now?
But Salie, I just want to maybe then ask clarity. So when we talk about the Qadris, and we talk about the Mu'tazila, these two categories. So we're saying one group is saying that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives them power and ability. So therefore, they have power and ability, and that Allah has given to them, so they can do whatever. So basically, they have power, like Allah has power, because Allah has given them power. That's the one group we're speaking about. And then the other group, but is referring to our people who say that Allah is responsible for everything. So therefore, no matter what you do, at the end of the day, you can't be punished for it because Allah has determined it already.
Yeah, in essence, that is very broadly capturing the concept. But let me go into it, and if we are going to refer to what some of these other groups say, we might bring it in to show how we differ from them, inshallah. So we're going to go to how we claim to believe. We say we belong to the Ahle Sunnah Wal Jama'ah group, and we are followers of the Ash'ari Creed. Now, when we talk about the whole concept of how we believe the creed, it has to do where does cause come from and where does effect come from. And in that process, you find people differing. Now, what have we come up to make us different from these groups? We believe, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us free will and choice, but we firmly believe in the question of preordainment, that Allah has decreed certain things. If we don't believe this correctly, then it means that our iman is flawed, because this is one of the requirements that we have to believe as Muslims, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has indicated that we should believe in the question of qada and qadr. If we don't believe this, or we don't believe it properly, say we don't believe it properly, we believe in it, but we don't believe in it correctly because for some reason or other we don't understand certain aspects of it. What does that mean as a consequence? As a consequence, it means that one of the arkans of iman is lacking. Can we then claim to have true iman if we don't understand it? I hope we understand how important it is for us to correctly understand then the question of not only accepting, but also correctly understanding the question of preordainment. Now, if we talk about cause and effect, we had a nice example from Aisha last time. The person doesn't brush his teeth and it resulted in a rotten tooth. The fact that the person did not brush his or her teeth is the cause of the tooth becoming rotten. The effect of not brushing the teeth is a rotten tooth. Now, that example is maybe difficult to use if we want to ask the question, can we obtain a result or an effect without a cause? And I'm putting that question now up to all of you. Can we ever get a result or a consequence or an effect without a cause?
One can say every action has a reaction. So the cause is the action and the effect is the result of the reaction.
Every cause has a reaction. Can you have a reaction without a cause? I'm putting it the other way around now. Every cause has a reaction. Can you have a reaction without a cause? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. Or I didn't hear anyone answer. Is it a difficult question? Or does it sound like a tricky question? It doesn't matter if we say the wrong thing now. You're not going to be marked. And Allah will be pleased with you that you're at least attempting to want to respond to the question. Because if you come across this question now on your own, how are you going to answer the question? Can you get a reaction without a cause?
There can't be a reaction without a cause. There must be a cause.
Allah can say be and it shall be.
Can two people spoke at the same time? I couldn't hear.
I'm saying only Allah can let something happen without a cause, like be and it shall be.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Imam Hussein says that logically, just logically, if you use the example of the knife, somebody stabs a person and the person bleeds. The bleeding is the result of how the knife was used. The knife is the cause of the bleeding. Can the person just bleed without the knife being used in that particular way? No. It will become a bit more clear as we move on, inshallah. Yes, Allah is the only one who can cause things to happen or create effect. Now, if we say Allah is the only one that can cause things to happen, then how do we understand? How do we understand that Allah allows you to drink water and it quenches your thirst? The water quenches your thirst. Does water have the ability to quench the thirst?
Water's humanity means.
MashaAllah. Allah uses the water as a means to quench the thirst.
And it creates the effect.
the removal of the thirst, the effect of you not being thirsty anymore, is it created by the water? Remember, Allah has now willed that the water must quench the thirst. The ability to remove the thirst, where does it come from? Allah has now decided, decreed the water will be a means of quenching the thirst. Where does that effect of removing the thirst come from?
Allah is the creator of the effect as well. Allah also causes you to quench your thirst.
But Allah has
That's
willed.
the effect which Allah created.
Okay, now my question is, Allah has now willed for the water to quench the thirst. Does the water now have the ability to quench the thirst?
Baba.
No,
No.
no, it's created by Allah.
Allah is a cause.
I would say yes.
Okay, explain why you say yes.
No, because the water has been given the quality or the ability to quench thirst. That's exactly what you remember. The water is it's the means that Allah has created, but it also first have the ability, because Allah has given that ability to quench thirst. That is one of its abilities or natures.
Okay, so it is used as a means to create, or it's used as a means to quench the thirst at that moment.
Correct, yeah. And to give the effect.
Do we agree with that? Do we all agree with
It's
that?
basically the same what I said. It's basically the same what I said, Dr. Salie.
No, it's not the same.
If
Isn't it?
Allah
One person.
Ek dink jy moet jou hand opsteek in.
Okay. Imam Hussein, you want to add?
No, as the cause and the effect is created by Allah.
But Allah has now used the means in creation to quench that thirst.
The water
Is the means, as Sidi Rashad said, that for that time that the means is used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the thing that actually creates the effect of removing the thirst. Is that correct? That's what he said, you said, that's what you said. Is it the same?
My brain screwy now.
Yeah, and it moet screw. Because these are the very issues, it's the fundamentals of our belief, how we believe in Allah.
I would say that even if the water is there as a means for it to quench your thirst, but if Allah doesn't will it for it to happen, it won't quench your thirst. So Allah has to will for that to happen before it quenches your thirst.
Yes, 100% correct. But the question is a bit more subtle than that. Does the water at the time, so Allah wills for the water to do that. Does it have the ability to quench the thirst then?
I would say water has the ability and the quality to quench your thirst, but it's only through the will of Allah that your thirst is quenched.
Now, okay.
You can
Are we-
drink
are we-
and drink and you're thirsty and you remain thirsty and you're drinking water, but your thirst is not quenched until Allah gives it the power and wills it to quench your thirst.
Now, let me tell all of you that is incorrect. The means, whatever the means, never has the ability to create effect. The means never has the ability to create effect. The means never has the ability to create effect. Otherwise, you're going to say effect can be created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but for that instance that Allah has willed for that thing to do it, that it has the ability. It never has the ability. It is only used as a means or as a channel or an instrument to give effect to the will of Allah. Now I want you guys to ponder on this and ask me or question that understanding now. Because it sounded as if we were, it sounded at one stage as if we were all saying the same. But I have put a view now that I'm putting to you, and I want you to give it back to me.
Yeah, but Salie, can you just repeat that, please, Kanala?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that can create effect. That means that nothing ever, under any circumstances, has the ability to create effect. If we use the example of the Qadariyah, this is where they went wrong. They believed Allah has given them power and free will. Now that they have the power, they can now do and create effect with that power. You understand how dangerous it is for us to think that once Allah has agreed that the power and the ability to create effect actually transfers to that means. It never ever transfers to
Habibi.
But isn't that exactly what I said?
No. No. You said...
No, because the Salie's question was, Allah has given the water the ability, right? So that is why I'm saying, because the ability was already given, so the effect of the water will be there.
No, what? It's a subtle, it's a very, very fine point, a subtle point. Even if we put aside everything that everyone said up to now, the ability for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create effect remains forever with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to use certain means is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah can use something for the knife to cut or not to cut. But the effect of cutting, the effect of quenching the thirst never transfers to the means.
So what you are saying, heat gives energy, as we know the qualities of heat, but heat cannot do anything without Allah's will.
Heat can do nothing.
Heat can do nothing.
The knife can do nothing.
No quality without
The
Allah's will.
The heat can do nothing. The knife can do nothing. The water can do nothing. Only Allah can do. The moment, okay, come to you now. The moment you say that you can do, or the knife can do, or the water can do, then you are actually saying that there is ability under certain circumstances that actually transfer to the means.
Salie,
yes,
a perfect example of this is in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs the fire to be cool for Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam.
That's the practical example. Yes. But before we even get there, you see, now we use the Quran as an example, but we must understand it correctly.
So, but Salie is saying cause and effect comes from Allah.
Subhanallah. That is the essence of it. The cause and the effect
Yeah.
remains forever under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's control, and it can never transfer to any means. Now put your questions now. Or tell me how you understand this, and whether it is clear enough, because if we are not clear enough about this, then we're going to perform a grave error in our Aqidah.
Okay.
We believe.
I
Yes.
agree. We have the. I mean, we've got the examples. The one that Sayyidi Mudathir now mentioned. The fire have the ability to burn, but it cannot burn unless it is willed by Allah. The same, similar like the
No.
Qurbanis.
No,
Remember the effect. Are we talking about the effect, the cause and the
No.
effect? That stays with Allah.
Let me stop you there so that we don't cause further confusion. The fire never has effect. The fire never ever has effect, because effect can only come from Allah.
That's what we see.
It's, you see, it's, I wonder if I shouldn't rather go on, because there are other examples where it might become a bit more clear of what we mean. But can we, and maybe come back to this point later,
Yeah, okay.
that the thing here is to understand, and Imam Hussein rightly, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to us? Allah created the doer and the actions of the doer. Allah created the craftsman and his craft. Allah didn't only create the fire, otherwise we're going to have this thing, before I move on. Otherwise we're going to have this concept. The fire can normally burn, but Allah wills for it to not burn. It normally has the ability to burn, but there are times when Allah wills for it not to burn. That means that while the fire is burning, it is able to create effect by itself.
So is Salie saying that we have free will and we have choice, but no matter what we choose, it will only happen with Allah's will.
Yes. Because Allah is the only one who can create effect. Even for me to open my mouth to speak now, to say my next word, that effect of speaking depends on whether Allah wills for me to speak. Then Allah will use my mouth and my throat and my vocal cords and my lungs to create that sound that I'm uttering now. Let me go on. Let me rather go on, because otherwise we're going to get stuck here, and we can pause on the next point. Let me use another example. In a worldly example, if you have a car and you start the car doesn't have petrol, will the car be able to drive?
Ano bisa kung sa kakarat ma?
No. No.
The car won't be able to drive. We're talking normal, under normal circumstances.
Normal.
Normal
Worldly world.
circumstances. It's obvious. If you don't have the key to start the car, that's where we should begin. If you don't have the key to start the car, you won't be able to get the car to start. But now you have petrol in the car, but the car still doesn't want to start. You open the bonnet and you see the battery's not there. and you realize, oh my goodness, somebody stole my battery, and you get another battery and put the battery in. You start the car, it still doesn't want to start the car. You look and you get a mechanic in, and the mechanic says, your coil. Now the coil of a car is the device that takes the power from the battery and creates a spark, and that goes to the spark plug, and the petrol is combusted or explodes when it comes into contact with the spark. So now you've got the problem solved. The car now starts. The only way the car is going to start if all three things are present. The same principle applies throughout the entire universe. The fact that you are able to sit or stand or wherever you find yourself now and not floating up into the air is because of gravity. And so many other factors. The sun, the gravity between the sun and the earth keeps the earth in orbit around the sun. Otherwise, we'd float out into space. And the whole universe is constructed like that. Now, these are the general laws of nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. Who created the car? Was the car created as a new thing that never existed? Did Allah know that there was going to be a car? Did Allah find out that there was going to be a car, or did Allah create that possibility of the car? The possibility of the car and even the cars that's going to come was created in the world of possibilities. So nothing is new. No matter what new things we come up. And every single law that applies to this world and this universe of ours forms part of what we refer to as the laws of nature. You put your hand on the stove and it burns. You dive underwater and you can't keep your breath for longer than a certain thing, then amount of time, then you must come up to breathe. Allah has created the laws that govern every single thing in the entire universe. Those are referred to as the general laws of nature. So yes, if you don't have petrol, the car's not going to start. And all the things must be there for it to work together the way Allah has decreed for it. Now, do we say that, if we use the example of the car now, that the petrol has ability to combust when it comes into contact with a spark?
Nope.
Only through Allah's qudrat.
But we see it's happening every day. Go to your car, you start it. If there isn't petrol, it won't start. If there's petrol there, then the petrol will make the car start.
We see miracles all the time. We expect a certain result, and as things happen that is cannot be explained.
Okay. Maybe
That
I am
petrol, but
I am maybe presenting this part of what we're supposed to do maybe in a bit too technical a way. Maybe we should have come back to this and go deeper and deeper into it. But the level of understanding of these issues is one upon the other upon the other. And when you think you understand it, then there's another level above that and another level above that. And I apologize if I've gone maybe too technical, but let me get back to the drawing board. There's 3 levels of belief. The level of Islam, where we have the arkans of Islam, right? You all know the arkans of Islam. At the level of Islam, if that's our belief system, and we're only at that level, then the car can't drive without petrol. Because Allah has created the environment such that the car can't drive without the petrol. But at the level of Iman, the car can drive at the level of Iman. The car can drive even without an engine if Allah wills it. The car can even fly if Allah wills for it. Because anything is possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the level that we are at in our belief, at the level of Islam, yes, we can do certain things. I get up in the morning, I'm able to go to the bathroom and wash my face and do that. At the level of Iman, you can't even get out of the bed if Allah does not will for you to get out of the bed. In fact, the way to, or let me rather go on and see if we can clarify this point a bit more.
Out the level of Islam.
The key thing that we have to remember is that no one and nothing in the entire universe can create effect, ever. But what is important to note also is once Allah has given the water permission to quench the thirst, does it now retain that ability? Does the water retain the ability to quench the thirst? Say it's a glass of water. The water can never ever have the ability, the water itself, the water, H2O, can never quench the thirst. In fact, every single drop of the water, every single drop in the glass that it's made up of, waits on the idhn, the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do what Allah wants it to do. I want to pause there now and ask if the concept is becoming more clear, because what we are saying is that nothing can create effect ever, and that everything waits on the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a minute fraction, instant by instant. It requires Allah's permission. Allah doesn't give the whole glass of water, and now the glass of water has the ability, that glass with the water now, with that amount of water, it can quench the thirst. And other water may not perhaps have it, but you believe that that glass, you are actually saying the ability has transferred. The ability to create effect never ever transfers to anything in creation. Let me if we are clear about this point.
Maybe if I could then just make this analogy. So what we're saying is, it goes as deep as, even while we're here, we feel we're in control of our actions. We feel that I can pick up this container, I can put this down, I can look around the room, I can respond to Salie, I can adjust my screen. But every action, every moment, every stage of every action that I am performing is waiting on the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the effect of it is on the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the cause and the continuation of that effect is waiting on the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and every minute effect, even the move of the eye muscle itself in the human body. So at every stage, absolutely every stage, even the birds flapping of the wing, that very movement up at every minute stage of that wing going up, it's on the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it was that Allah did not will for the bird's wing to move a millimeter in that second, that it would not be able to do it, even if we thought the bird had the ability to fly.
Correct.
Yes. Let me just the point.
Ik zal zien.
There we have the bird. On my screen, I can make the bird flap its wings. But because of the time delay, if we look at a straight line, you take a pen and you draw a line, the length of the ruler. If you examine the line and you break it up, then the line is made up of individual dots that makes up the entire line. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
You must agree, it's a common sense thing. The line is not just one line. It's made up of the individual pieces that makes up the line, if you draw a line. Now, if we look at a bird flapping its wings, it's in one position and it goes down. The movement from where the wing is now to where it goes down to the lowest point is probably made up of millions of individual pieces. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Yes, you must agree. It's not one continuous movement and the next movement is up and that's a movement. The flapping of the wing of the bird is made up of millions of individual pieces. Just for that one action. We're not even going to say for the bird to move from point A to point B. What are we talking about now? We're talking about millions of individual pieces. None of those things belong to the bird. None of the ability to move its wings belong to the bird. Why can we be sure when we make that statement? Because otherwise you're going to say, or you would be saying, that the bird has the ability, once Allah gives the bird the instruction to fly, now the bird has the ability to
Salie,
effect. Yes.
Salie,
Yes.
on the bird topic, there is an ayah in the Quran where Allah explains this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ألم يروا إلى الطير مسخرات في جو السماء ما يمسكهن إلا الله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون. Surah Nahl, Allah says, do they not see the birds held flying in the midst of the sky? None holds them but Allah. And verily, none give them the ability to fly but Allah. Verily, in this are clear proofs and signs for the people who believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just on the topic of the bird, the ayah of the bird in the Quran.
Subhanallah. Shukran, Sidi Mudafir. May Allah open up more for you and make the connections of what Allah says to us in clear words. So the point in what we are saying is that effect never transfers, even in the case. Now, if we look in our everyday life, we are supposed to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, power, and control and maintenance of the universe. Now, if you just contemplate on that alone, just a bird, how many birds are there? How many different pieces does it, does its flapping of its wings, is it made up of? And every single movement is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's control. And the dog barking and the man walking, and you multiply that by 7 billion people in the universe, and you multiply that by all the people that have lived from the beginning of the creation of man till the end of man, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls that. How are you talking about the Allah that you're starting to getting to know? Allah creates all that effects, and none other can create that effect. Everything is waiting on the instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We get this incorrect impression that we can do, or the car can do this, or the car can do that, or the knife can do this. Effect only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me go on to the next point. Allahu Akbar, subhanallah. I use this example also. What makes the water in a material world example, what makes the water drop to the ground?
Gravity.
Gravity. Have you noticed water can never fall skew? Did you notice that? No, water always fall perpendicular to the surface on which it's falling. Did you notice that? Yeah, probably not. No, probably not. That water falls in a straight line. If you were to draw that line right down the ground, you will come to the center of the earth. That's where the gravity, the effect of the gravity on the water is from the center of the earth. Now, it falls, you can see it's falling. But is it possible for that water, after it has left the tap, is it possible for it to stop there? In the middle, there. Is it possible for it to stop there?
No.
Under normal circumstances, not. But are we then saying, now we're talking at the level of Iman, right? All of these things that we are talking about now, we're talking about the level of Iman. When we talk about the level of Iman, we are not talking about the material at the level of Islam and just using the arkans of Islam as the basis of our belief. We are now talking about having accepted the arkans of Iman. At the level of Iman, every bit, every fraction that the water drops down there is waiting on the idhn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single movement of that drop can stop in the middle there.
Yes.
Ek is nou nie een van die oulia nie, het ek dua gemaak, Allah moet hy water laat stop in die middel. And that's what the awliya can do. Because of their proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them certain abilities. But what we must understand is that Allah created and decreed certain laws, how Allah would normally use certain means. So if we say the fire burns, yes, the fire burns, the waters, if it freezes, it's cold. Men can't go below the surface, only birds can fly, and so on. Those are the general laws that Allah has created. But we must never make the mistake that because Allah has created the laws of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will use certain means to create certain effects, that those effects are embedded or belongs to the means. Do we understand that concept?
Yes.
At the general level, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that effects. Yes, Allah uses it every day like that for as long as I remember, and so on. So but the effect doesn't belong to that means.
Salie,
Let me hear. Mudathir?
just to understand this, coming
You're very soft. We can't hear you.
Salie, hear me now?
Better? Still soft?
Okay. So coming back to the ayah of the fire of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now, can Uncle Salie maybe help me understand this better? Is we know fire, the attribute of fire is hot and to burn, right?
Yes.
But then why in the Quran, and Allah instructs the fire, oh fire, be coolness and safety for Ibrahim. So the effect of fire is naturally to burn, but Allah changes it by asking or instructing the fire to be coolness and safety for Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Why does it need an instruction? Is that
yes,
your question?
That's my question, yeah. But,
it doesn't have the ability, so why does Allah still instruct it? Is that the question?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
I hope we all understand the question. If Allah has the control over whether the fire must burn or not, why must Allah still instruct the fire? What is the Quran? The Quran is Allah's means of speaking to us. Yes, it communicates certain ideas and concepts and do's and don'ts for us to understand the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That instruction should not be interpreted as if the fire had ability in itself and that Allah then had to instruct it not to burn. That was more for our understanding and knowledge, that the ability to burn comes from Allah, but Allah makes it clear in that particular way for us. Like so many other places, Allah speaks about Allah's hand and Allah's face and foot and so on. Allah doesn't really have those things. You must understand it. Now, if we were to have this debate with people who live, who've never been exposed to secular education and the kind of knowledge that we have, and we have this debate, we would lose them along the way. But the Quran speaks to every category of believer, including to those people who never go beyond the level of Islam. They never get to the level of Iman. And very, very, very great percentage of the Muslim Ummah never go beyond the level of Islam. By some of the things we are doing, we are on the path of getting to the level of Iman. And never ever claim you have Iman until you understand all of these things properly. I don't claim I have complete Iman. And I think very few people can actually claim to have complete Iman, because Iman means all of those sifat of Iman must be understood. Yes, Marwan?
Salie, I just remembered I listened to a lecture now the other night. Sheikh Yusuf, Sheikh Qadi, he mentioned the fitra of the human when is created with a fitra. And Nabi Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, when Allah created him and Allah blew the ruh into him, then before the ruh reached by the time the ruh reached the mouth, he sneezed because of some effect on his nose. He sneezed, and then Nabi Adam said, Alhamdulillah. But he was not taught anything. So basically, the Sheikh mentioned that that concept is the fitra that Allah created inside of us. So, Salie, I just wondered now, if you look at the fitra and the fact of instruction, Salie, is fitra more for those who are conscious of Allah, and then the fitra comes into play? And those who are absent-minded, then they are given a reminder through instruction that the instruction is just a means for Allah to educate them, that it is within His power to instruct, to give order through fitra, but it's actually instruction. No, it's fitra, but actually to give the fitra concept through instruction to those for understanding.
Shukran, Marwan. You raise a number of issues. I'll just touch on one or two of it. The first point you are raising, I want to remind all of us that we have nothing. We know none of us have knowledge or understanding or ability. In fact, we have nothing. We only have choice. That's what Allah gave us, but Allah's choice is above our choice. In a very simplified way. But to come back to the point, so knowledge never belongs to us. It doesn't come from us. That knowledge, our inner goodness, the fitra, the divine yearning, or the yearning to be close to Allah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the ruh of all of insan, Allah assembled them at some point in the unseen world, in the ghaib, before we were born. The time when Allah asked, am I not your Lord? Alastu bi rabbikum? And we said yes. That same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also taught us the names. What are the names? The names does not only refer to this is a cup and that is a horse and that is the sun and that is the moon. In Tasawwuf, we are taught that the names are the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True knowledge of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was taught directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to humankind. Allah didn't even use the Malaa'ikah. That's one of the instances where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not use any means. Allah taught humankind directly
Allah.
the knowledge of the names. And that knowledge of the names and its true understanding, because now you have not been affected by shaitan and nafs and dunya and all of that. You are in a pure state. Your ruh has just been created. It's not even gone down and been influenced by the other things. So now, in that pure state, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the ruh of every single person that's ever going to be on this dunya, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. Subhanallah. We were all knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then. In the true essence, we were all knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then. And that is what we are striving in our path to eventually get back to that stage where we got that true understanding of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Now that knowledge, ek gaan nou 'n bietjie af van die point. But that knowledge resides in the heart of every single human being from the beginning of time to the end of time, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim. Allah is so fair that He has given that knowledge, and that knowledge of the true meaning of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resides in the spiritual heart of every single human being. So we all were created with the ability to become of the arifin, of true knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us. But all of that is covered by darkness and disobedience and ignorance and slaves of the dunya and shaitan and all of that. And it covers that knowledge till we don't even know that it is within us, every single human being. So our path is to get to a point where Allah, we purify the heart so that these veils are lifted and that the barakah and the nur of the names can actually shine through so that we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the process. Now, time has actually run out. I think we'll have to continue with this on Wednesday at 4. And I want to remind people, if you've not been able to make it for the other sessions, make a special effort for Wednesday so that we can put the finishing touches to our difference of belief to all the other sects and groups that Rasulullah referred to. There will be more than 70, is it 7? Yeah, 70 different sects of Islam will all claim to be Muslim, and there will only be one group who will have the true and correct understanding. We don't know how we believe because we are still uncertain about some of these issues. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up for us a correct understanding that we never ever do injustice towards the way we describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the way we assign certain qualities to ourselves or to others that doesn't ever belong to us. We're going to come back to this point. And I'm going to stop here now because I do want us to conclude on maybe just by what we have covered so far, that we actually get clarity about it. When we leave here, we actually feel a bit more sure about ourselves the way we believe. So I'm going to open up the last round of questions or comments that people may have.
Salie is a final, inshallah, Salie. Shukran. I was looking at the names now and the attributes of Allah, and we look at the attribute of Bari, Ya Bari. As the attribute of Ya Bari is the one who influenced the heart directly. Is that correct, Salie? And the attribute of and the part where Allah is Kalamullah, the Kalam, Allah is that the attribute of instruction? Could it be put like that, understood like that, Salie? The attribute of Khalik maybe indirectly influences the notion of how the brain works and understand things?
Let me say, and I think it's a point that Rashad Darwas made early on. Nothing about Allah can be separated. Everything that Allah can be described by belongs to Allah, and Allah is one. So all Allah's sifat, there is and names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers only to Allah. There's not a that sifat means that it stands on its own. That sifat belongs to the same being that you are going to use the next sifat and the next name. So everything belongs to Allah. So ultimately, there's a connection between all the names. If time allows, later on, we're going to speak about the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in a different way. But let us first get to know the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly. Let us get our Tawhid intact. Then these other things will become a bit more clear. Muhammad Fasih, did you want to come in?
But Salie, I was just reflecting on what Salie was saying regarding the moment when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked mankind, am I not your Lord? And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught at that time, had taught mankind the names of everything. So and the names of everything we are saying is the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So perhaps not only just unlocking the deeper connection and understanding of Allah through the names, but also can we say then by understanding the names deeper, we also understand the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more intensely through understanding the names. Because how Allah subhanahu, in a sense, for our human brains, how Allah created, in a sense, through how we understand the names and how we understand the characterization of those names.
Yes, you see, some of these things require a lot of time to explain. I'll try and give a very brief response to your question. The names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, other than the sifat of the self-sifat, wujud, everything else describes Allah's abilities and qualities, even the names. And when it describes that, how do we ever get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Through those very sifat and the names in practice. Allah tells us how to go about doing it. Look at the heavens, look at the earth, look within yourselves, and you will recognize the different sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how you get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah says, Allah taught humankind the names, Allah gave us an insight of how these names are manifested in creation. We had that kind of insight. Like the awliya can explain to us, that name, you must, if you look at the tree, you must see Al-Khaliq, Al-Bari, Al-Musawwir, the creator, the fashioner, the giver of shape. You must see that. The awliya can see it. When we look at the tree and we look at the shape of the tree, we must actually see the sifat of Allah and the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is so merciful that Allah has given us all the means and the mechanisms of how to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sifat and the names that we are talking about are deeply embedded in each and every single person on the planet Earth. So we are the carriers of that divinely inspired information within the depths of our own hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is what the awliya and especially Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani refers to as the secret of the secrets. The secret of the secrets is the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah deposited in the heart of every single person. Any other final comments or questions? Mudathir?
On the ayah that Muhammad Fasih mentioned, when Allah asked us the question, Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala, and we replied, qalu bala shahidana. We replied, indeed, yes, we witness. The witnessing, are we speaking about the time when Allah asked us this question in, like Uncle, this is on the statement Uncle Salie made, that in true essence, we were true knowers of Allah. This is at the moment where Allah asked us, Alastu bi rabbikum, when we replied, qalu bala shahidana. Indeed, we witness, we bear witness. So is this the time where we already witnessed the sifats and we knew Allah? We were all arif. Correct?
Yes. Subhanallah. And that's, you know, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We come from Allah and we return to Allah. That's our return. that knowledge, that inner knowledge that we had in that angelic phase, that knowledge was where we could actually say, Ashhadu, I bear witness, because that knowledge was deposited in you and you could truly bear witness. Not witness and know with the mind, but know with the heart, because that knowledge was within your heart to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, Peter Salie, Peter Marwan spoke of the state of fitra, which we were in. That is the state of fitra. That is the actual state of fitra, because we knew Allah that time. But coming into this world, we forgot everything. So we must relearn.
And Uncle Salie, on that point, Uncle Salie, can we say that we knew everything, we knew we were witnesses, we were arif, we were as a test, and that's where the ayah comes in, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, and the some people tafsir it as يَعْرِفُونَ, we have created you to know Allah. So that is that the test we actually in. So the in purpose is to know.
Yeah. Although we must make allowances for the people who are at the level of Islam.
We speak on Ihsan now.
At the level of Islam, you are talking about something that doesn't necessarily apply to the level of Iman. But Allah created us for no other purpose. We must benefit from our presence here, because Allah doesn't benefit from us being here. And the benefit for us is to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Allah doesn't want us to know something that we don't know or incapable of knowing. It's like if you give a child a mathematical problem that the university professor is grappling with. It's beyond that child's, it doesn't matter how you explain it, the child won't be able to comprehend that. Allah is most fair and most just. And Allah has given us a task to do certain things that we are able to do. Allah has deposited that inner divine knowledge, knowledge of the divine into our hearts. So we have it. Then on top of that, Allah also gave us the Quran and the Sunnah to guide us of how to unlock that knowledge and to purify the heart, to become of the Arifin. Are there any final comments or questions? If not, I want to thank people. Just remember, we're going to still have to conclude on this issue about how do we actually believe of how Allah creates effect, so that we don't ever fall in the trap. Just remember this, as a simple takeaway of this session should be, we must guard against claiming anything for ourselves or anyone or anything where we think they can create effect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who can create effect ever. Never does it transfer, even for an instant, to the means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used. So I want to leave it on that note, and I want to thank everyone and urge them to make a special effort to be present at the conclusion of this particular section that we are dealing with now. Shukran very much for your presence, and we're going to ask Haji.
Yes.
Marwan.
Can I just add something, sorry, before? You see, no, just what that one.
No, I'm just looking at the time. Shukran.
Yes, you see, because we were talking about, if my understanding was, once Allah is given the ability, we take it for granted that, yeah, but Allah's already given the ability, so it will automatically happen. But now we've understand, or I've learned that, even although the ability is given, it still needs the permission of Allah.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Wonderful, wonderful understanding. And let me be honest with you, Buta Rashad. I struggled with that part because I had somebody that I was debating and discussing this issue with for a long time. His understanding was the moment Allah created the laws, the natural laws.
Yep.
This is his understanding. Nah? The moment Allah created the natural laws, that water will quench thirst, the fire will burn, and so on, then it is there in that object or that entity, and Allah can change it if and when Allah wants. That sounds very plausible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that is wrong.
Correct.
Allah never transfers the ability to create effect. And that's why I've gone into this and examined it and so on. And in fact, even in the books that I have written, I've given the books to Sheikh Hazim, Hafidullah, and I've given it to Sidi Abdul Hadi. And the concepts that we are speaking about are tested stuff. These are not things that I am just using my own logic about. I've actually taken these writings, given it to our Murshid, and Sidi Mudathir can speak when we went to visit Sheikh about. Sheikh was very pleased about the books.
She gave Uncle Salie full ijazah to teach the subject of Tawhid, inshallah, at the Zawiya.
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad you said it and I didn't say it. So what we are talking about is refining our concept about who Allah is and how we should believe correctly in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think Marwan has left us, so we're going to...
No, he's here.
Is he here? Okay. Tafadal, make dua for us, Sidi Marwan. تفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافي مزيدا يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك فلك الحمد قبل الرضا ولك الحمد بعد الرضا ولك الحمد إذا رضيت أن دائما أبدا. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الأحوال والآفات وتقضي لنا بها جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك على الدرجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات إنك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم رب زدنا علما اللهم رب زدنا علما اللهم رب زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما واغفر لنا ذنوبنا وذنوب والدينا وجميع المسلمين أجمعين. ربنا يسر ولا تعسر ربنا تمم الخير وأنت يا الله الكريم الميسر. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا واغفر لنا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وسلم. دعوهم فيها سبحانك اللهم وتحيتهم فيها سلام وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Solank gewag vir die paar dae vir hy antwoord nou, maar nou sit die verstaaning alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I switched the record off. I want just one or two comments. Have I gone too deep into the stuff? and too technical. I just want some guidance on how I should proceed, or whether we should just continue along this line or not. And I want the people who haven't spoken, Shabnam and Aisha and everyone else, Waheed, just give me some feedback of whether I have maybe gone too heavy and too deep on the issues.
I think that just sometimes we need to go a little bit deeper just to get the clear understanding as well. Especially on this, because this is the basis of belief. So if you don't have this understanding, then you're going to go, it's easier to divert.
Yeah. That's why I took a chance by going that deep into it, because it's so important.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a double story foundation. Al Gallows is a single story gaan bou. Gooi is a double story foundation.
Yeah, that's it. Prepared for the double story. In case jy raak van die
kan die slam gooi.
It's a very good comment, Rashad.
But it's possible. It's also possible to give more examples and to go a bit slower on these issues if people want us to. So we don't necessarily move on, not to explain it properly, but maybe it should be done with more clarification and examples. Can I just hear from you?
It's rightfully that what you said, Mr. Salie, we know the examples. We took examples even from the Quran, the ability of the fire and the stuff what we mentioned now, the knife that you couldn't cut Nabi Ismail. But we've got it, but we didn't have the understanding why. And now you have the understanding as to why it really happened. It's not like the explanation sometimes is given. Yes, the knife was there, but it couldn't cut. No, it didn't. It's not because it couldn't cut. Allah didn't give it permission to cut or not to cut. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Any other points
So yes, Mr. Salie, so today's topic was actually on cause and effect. Cause and effect. We haven't got to real qada and qadar yet.
Let me just give you an idea of what we are, what the next things are going to be, just so that you know where we're going. These are such crucial this is one of the things we still do. Just look at the headings. Creation is merely a means. Dua can change the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the things we still need to get to. That's quite long, the one that speaks about dua can change the decree. Allah created the good and the bad. How do we understand that good and bad comes from Allah?
But Salie, with permission, is it okay if I leave now?
Just look at the last thing that I want to show you. Then only we come to Qada and Qadr.
Okay.
Yes,
because if we don't understand all these other things, where does good and bad come from? Cause and effect. How should we understand that certain things can change the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How will you then understand the question of predestination and the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I didn't want to just jump into it, and then there are many other things that we must still refine our understanding. So inshallah, may Allah give us all the ability and the time to actually be able to go through all of these things. The last comment from you, Imam Hussein, You said it was going quite deep and technical. Has it become a bit more clear as we moved along?
Yes. It's just maybe just the way, the method you are. You know, you made us all think and guess, and you know, coming up with examples which we didn't understand ourselves, and then you give us the actual knowledge of the
Understanding.
subject. I think you must first tell us, you know, what is.
Tamaaf, ek gaan dit daai doen
Yeah.
nie. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Dan
Because then we will all just... Hey?
Salie wil verkeerd ons is, so verkeerd ons glo jyste.
No. Wallahi, it's not that.
I think
We must make it
No, let me just
interactive.
explain this. When I ask you, then I can hear what it is that I need to focus on, to refine and improve on. Because if I say it's X, Y, and Z, do we understand? Do we have the questions? No, we understand. Then we move on. Then some areas may not have been covered properly. But if I know that people have a difficulty with a certain aspect, not because I want to test you. No.
I
It would
think
be
that's
horrible
good
for me
because
to do that.
we actually absorb better this way.
Yes.
Because if we're thinking differently, Sheikh helps us to guides us, and we listen better and absorb better.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. I'm glad that you're agreeing with me, because I wasn't going to change my method. For whatever it's worth, in a previous life, I actually lectured at the Technicon in electronics for a short while only, before I became a politician. And I used the same method, and it worked extremely well to test what it is that people know and what they don't know, so that what you are speaking about is relevant. Otherwise, you speak and you think you're getting through, but you're actually missing the target all the time. Alhamdulillah. But I'm not going to change my style. I might amend it and adapt it, but I'm going to, by and large, keep on this style. But I don't want to put people on the spot. If you feel that you don't want to answer, then just say, no, I'd rather reserve my comment. That's fine.
No problem.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Shukran, I appreciate your style.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm also a teacher. We like to ask questions.
Okay, Assalamu
before we
alaikum,
give the
everybody.
answers.
Wa
Okay.
alaikum salam. Shukran, Aisha. Shukran. I'm glad that you are present all the time, all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. Shukran.
Amen. Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Yes, sir.
You want to link up again or what?
Yes, just give me 15 minutes, and then inshallah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Okay, so Marwan, wat sê jy man? Ek mis vir jou.
Ek niks te sê dit is Salie, alhamdulillah. Okay,
No, I really miss your interaction and your points and the way you can participate.
Salie, hoe kan een mens iets sê as knowledge na jou toe moet kom? As ons ignorant is, dan moet jy eintlik niks kan praat. Jy luister en dan absorb, Salie.
No, it's not that. We all learn from one another. I learn from you, you learn from me, and we learn together in the process.
I sometimes learn best when I'm just listening to Salie. And then just
But it would be nice if you could.
Ours is empty, Salie, empty glasses. We need to be filled up.
Okay, no, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, directly from Sheikh to you, to us, Salie.
Alhamdulillah.
Allahu Akbar. Allah increase for us, inshallah, and fill our cups.
All right, assalamu alaikum, Imam Hussein.
Walaikum salam. Ibn pala khat Salie.
Hoekom? Fokuseer nou.
Ja, te veel gedink.
Nee, maar is goed, Imam Hussein.
Die brains groei.
Ja, myne ook, myne ook. Maar imam moet sommer van hy ander kopseep hulle ook vat nou.
Ja.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.